Today we're taking a long journey to freedom, 4,000 miles in fact. It will traverse from a Siberian Gulag through the Mongolian desert to the Tibetan Himalayas, all the way to India. I'm Whitaker Martin of Video Reviews, and today's second look is an adaptation of the 1956 novel The Long Walk. This is the 2010 film The Way Back. Those familiar with director Peter Weir know that this is a director who likes to tell stories about people thrown into deeply different worlds. Think of two Aussie conscripts sent to World War I Gallipoli, or a seasoned Philadelphia cop forced to hide amongst the Amish, or a man born for a made-for-television world. Here we have a motley crew of Eastern Europeans and an American thrown together into an unfamiliar gulag. It's World War II, and with Joseph Stalin in charge, any suspected enemies of the state are being sentenced to long terms in hard labor.
Ваша тюрьма – это не наши оружия, собаки и проволока. Ваша тюрьма – это Сибирь.
Я на 13 миллионов квадратных километров.
Ваш надзиратель – природа. И здесь она безмилостна.
One of the recent prisoners is the Pole Janusz Wierzchek, sentenced after his wife was coerced into false testimony. He quickly harbors an idea to escape, though getting others to sign on requires some convincing, including the American, Mr. Smith.
Theoretical bastard, mister.
I'm still alive. That's all I know. But I won't be in another 6 months, and neither will you. Not here, not in these mines. But if you're serious, really serious about making a run for it, I'm with you.
I thought you were alone.
Can't be done alone. Besides, you have a weakness that could be useful to me.
What is that?
Kindness.
A team gets assembled, and the breakout is successful, but that proves to be the easy part. Finding food, water, and shelter all prove to be difficult, as does something you don't do in Stalinist Russia: communication and trust.
Volker? What? Why do you have arseholes tattoo on your chest? I mean, they should be on your arse so we can sit on them every time you take a shit.
You think it's funny? They are great men. Oh, Volker! Don't you know what Stalin means? Funny men. Means men of steel. He takes from rich and gives to poor.
Yes, of course he does. And then he takes both of them and puts them in a gulag for 25 years.
Put your eyes, Crowbait.
Eventually, an orphaned Pole, Irena, joins the group. Unhardened by prison life, Irena is able to learn details about the group's lives, including this often neglected detail about the Great Depression.
Don't you talk to each other?
In the camps, you learn to say as little as possible.
Mr. Smith, working on the Moscow Metro.
He's an engineer. His father was Finnish, grew up in America, but he could speak Russian.
Then why would an American move to Russia, for God's sake?
The Depression. His son came with him.
And what happened to his son?
They shot him.
I appreciate that the film offers us these little-known facts about world history, at least to my American ears. However, revealing moments like these are only occasional. Most of the film transpires with the characters walking from one location to another, and not a lot of communication going on. Arguably, it's the elements that are the biggest threat, not the communists. I should probably acknowledge the disputed veracity of this story. The film does claim to be inspired by true events, but what those true events are has been hard to pin down. I won't go into extensive detail on this, but when it comes to the 1956 novel The Long Walk, author Sławomir Rawicz has been accused of both plagiarism and falsehood. The evidence of this long trek from Siberia through the Himalayas all the way to India seems to be circumstantial at best, and even director Peter Weir has acknowledged his film is best interpreted as fiction. Because of this, I am choosing to review The Way Back as a fictional rather than factual narrative. But even so, this is a compelling tale. For starters, this is a well-cast motion picture, with the always reliable Ed Harris playing the cynical Mr. Smith, Jim Sturgess maintaining determination through hardship while playing Janusz, Colin Farrell displaying aggression and cunning as the criminal Valka, and Saoirse Ronan, early in her prolific career, portraying the young Irena. Dragos Bukur, Alexandru Potocyan, Gustav Skarsgård, and Sebastian Urzędowski make up the rest of the escapees, and together everyone is convincing in portraying out of their element people who have to learn fast how to survive and how to trust each other.
What is that? Barbed wire.
He's making a fish hook.
That's how we will survive.
With fish? But I don't eat fish.
Then you'll die.
Another component that works is the look of the film. Much of the film was shot in Bulgaria and Morocco, doubling for Siberia and Mongolia. There's a good sense of isolation to these landscapes, and since the film frequently shows us these characters just walking, no conversation or background music, the enormity of their journey is very clear. Credit Russell Boyd for the cinematography, John Stoddart for the convincing production design, particularly the uninviting Gulag in the early scenes, and makeup artist Greg Funk for effectively showing the toll such a journey would have, as we see characters suffer from hunger, thirst, sunburn, exhaustion, and more. The screenplay by Peter Weir and Keith R. Clark keeps characterization to a minimum, and while one could argue that since these are prisoners who've learned to keep to themselves, they aren't going to splurge details, it is true that this minimalism can keep our empathy at bay. But even as a fly on the wall, I still found this story compelling. You get the scope of the landscape and a feel for the time and setting. The casting is solid and the script does just enough to make these characters rootable. As a simple adventure story where several characters have to endure the elements to achieve freedom, The Way Back works.
My wife is alive. She lived and was released. That much I know. But she'll never be able to forgive herself for what she's done. You see, only I can do that. She will be torturing herself just like you. So you see, I have to get back.
Go ahead and leave a comment on what you thought about The Way Back, and if there's a film you think deserves a second look. And as a quick aside, this remains the last film Peter Weir has directed. What's up with that, Hollywood? Seriously, if the guy has an idea, you go ahead and greenlight it. Anyway, I'm Whitaker Martin, and thanks for watching this installment on Video Reviews. I'll see you next time.